Imagine taking 3 long years of your hard-earned savings, pouring it into a stock, only to watch it crash miserably. Or worse, imagine being trapped in a toxic company that feeds you empty promises, working like a slave for 3 agonizing years, only to end up with chronic stress and a broken spirit. When faced with these disasters, what is your immediate instinct? Is it to cut your losses, hit the panic button, and run? Or do you grit your teeth, dig your heels in, and lie to yourself that everything will magically get better tomorrow? Here is the brutal truth. 90% of people do not run. Instead, in the dead of night, they desperately brainwash themselves. Even though their portfolio is completely ruined, they insist on calling it a long-term investment. Even though they are being ruthlessly exploited by their boss, they convince themselves it is just a necessary career challenge. Today, we are going to violently strip away the most hypocritical layer of human subconsciousness. Once you see through this illusion, you will instantly cure your mental exhaustion. In Aesop's fables, there is a famous story about a fox who couldn't reach the grapes. Because the failure was too painful to accept, the fox forced itself to believe that the grapes were sour anyway. In modern psychology, this exact behavior is called cognitive dissonance. To study this fascinating phenomenon, Harvard psychologists once went undercover into an apocalyptic Doomsday cult. The cult leader had successfully brainwashed his followers into donating their entire life savings, promising that aliens would arrive in a UFO to rescue them before the world ended. But when the designated day arrived, the sky remained perfectly calm. There was no flying saucer, not even a shadow. But here is the terrifying twist. These people, who had just lost absolutely everything, did not tear the leader apart. Instead, they took to the streets with fanatic excitement, telling the world that it was their pure, devoted prayers that moved the aliens, saving planet Earth from total destruction. This reveals the most dangerous flaw in human nature. When a person pays a catastrophic price, only to realize they have been an absolute fool, the human brain simply cannot handle that extreme level of shame. To protect their fragile ego, humans will aggressively construct an even more absurd lie, just to prove that their initial choice wasn't a mistake. It is the primal instinct of the sour grapes effect. If a doomsday cult feels too extreme, just look at the news. Think about the elderly victims of telecommunication scams. Even when the police and their own children slap the undeniable evidence right in front of their faces, they refuse to believe it. In fact, they will still sneak out to wire more money to the scammers. Why? Because admitting that their entire life savings were wiped out by a fraud is a crushing reality that would completely destroy them. So, they choose to desperately cling to a beautiful illusion, whispering to themselves that this is a top-secret government project that ordinary people just don't understand. This psychological defense mechanism is everywhere in our daily lives. Take a simple example, smoking. Every smoker knows it destroys their lungs, yet many fail to quit. Knowing the truth but failing to act triggers massive cognitive dissonance. So how do they ease the pain? Since quitting is too hard, 90% of them choose to lie to themselves. They say, look at the old man next door. He smoked his whole life and lived to 90. Or, my stress levels are too high, I'll lose my mind without it. To cover up a lack of discipline, humans will instantly distort their own reality. Now, if you apply this exact toxic logic to major life choices, the price becomes devastating. When trapped in a dynamic, deeply toxic relationship with someone who is profoundly selfish, manipulative, and emotionally draining, why do you still fail to walk away? Because the moment you actively end it, you are forced to admit that 3 years of your youth, your raw devotion, and your pure sacrifices were worth absolutely zero. To escape the blinding pain of the sunk cost fallacy, you will frantically slap a romantic filter over a broken relationship. You tell yourself, deep down, they are a good person, they just had a traumatic childhood. Or sure, they have a terrible temper, but at least they are attractive. Make no mistake, this is not deep love. This is you, locking yourself inside the prison of your own self-delusion. When your self-delusion violently collides with a cold, harsh reality, admitting your judgment failed is excruciatingly painful. That is why 99% of people choose self-deception, trying to dress up a pile of garbage in a golden robe. So, how do you break this curse? The answer is deeply counterintuitive, and it requires extreme courage. You must learn to fail fast and admit defeat. You must possess the raw bravery to look in the mirror and admit you were foolish. The great philosopher Wang Yangming once stated, "Man must sharpen himself through real-world actions." Truly powerful individuals never waste a single ounce of energy trying to manufacture artificial comfort for their egos. Instead, they channel 100% of their strength into solving the actual problem. Whether the grapes are sour or sweet does not matter. Finding a way to get your hands on real, sweet grapes is the only thing that counts. If you bought the wrong stock, cut the loss immediately. If you encounter a toxic person who does nothing but drain your soul, the moment you spot the red flags, flip the table and walk out. Never numb yourself with the excuse that things will get better with time. A mistake is a mistake. Stop the bleeding now. Save your energy for tomorrow. Admitting your own foolishness might hurt for a moment. But the compounding interest of self-deception is a debt you will fail to pay off for the rest of your life.